get to know this young lady and her story. So if y'all can do me a favor, keep those audio aspects on mute for us, please. If you want to have your video camera on, that's fine as well. But we want to make sure that we get a chance to go ahead and let people continue to get up in here. In the meantime and in between time, I am Carl Mays, Student Life Coordinator at the Central Campus, and I have the privilege of being in here with other Student Life Coordinators, Miss Ashley Rhodes, Ms. Dominique Brown, and Miss Regina Wilson, who represent the Southwest, the Northeast, and the Northwest campuses. And we just want to make sure you guys get a chance, and you know some other students that probably need to be in here and also hear the challenges that we as a state, we as a country, and definitely we as a city have been dealing with for quite some time, the subject of human trafficking. And we want to make sure that you all understand the seriousness in it, but also understand how you can be of help in assisting yourself or someone who may run into or might be in these situations, and you know the proper channels to be in order to help combat the war against human trafficking. So with that said, you know what I'm saying? We're already 13 minutes in, so I want to go ahead and make sure I do a share screen before I introduce this lovely woman. So if y'all could please keep phones on mute, and let's be able to check out the video. So.
We are not able to hear the video.
Okay, so y'all can't hear.
I can hear.
Let me get this straight. So I want y'all. Could anybody? Could everybody hear?
I can hear. Yes, the sound is great.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, so the person that probably couldn't hear, if you can, real quick, check. Well, I don't know if you're able to. Right next to the microphone, there's a drop down. You want to click that drop down, and it'll take you to the audio settings on your particular computer. And when you click that drop down, just make sure that your in output is sound on your laptop. It'll say internal sound. So if you can do that real quick, and just
okay.
for right's sake, because I want you to hear because it's powerful. All right, and if everyone can, please keep your microphones on mute unless you a situation like the. We'll give you a second to do that, and then I'm gonna start this video over because I do want you all to be able to hear what the video is saying because it's very powerful. Right? So I'll start in about 10 seconds. 10 seconds, we will start. If there's anybody that just popped in, we want to say welcome. We're going to go ahead and definitely get started. We apologize again a little bit for the tardy because we want to make sure that people don't miss too much of it. All right. At this particular point, I'll go ahead and start the video now. Amazing. Very powerful. Very powerful. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make sure I get to introduce you all to the young lady that'll be on the screen in just a second. And if you could please, with respect, we want to make sure we keep the microphones on mute until the end of our presentation. That way we can open the floor for questions and answers. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. Give a warm welcome, round of applause, Ms. Nissi Hamilton. Dr. Nissi Hamilton. Nissi, if you got your camera, you can go ahead and camera on it. There you go.
Hey, everybody. What's up, ACC student life? Oh my God, I wish I could just like be in the same room with y'all and hug y'all and talk to y'all and stuff so we can get the real. So shout out to everybody. I just talked to Carl and Ashley, I believe, and I know Dominique was on here. And my other girl, I think her name is Regina. Let me see. I know a couple people on here. Shout out. But what's up? All right. So thank you guys once again for welcoming me during March. This is National Women's History Month. So this is such an honor to be here and to be celebrated, as well as to talk about something that is troubling everybody all over Houston, as we all know, and just talk about some of the things that, you know, that's happening and what's going on today in 2021, sorry. Thinking about 2020 because we had some stuff that got passed in 2020 as far as legislation is concerned with human trafficking. So everything's looking good. Well, you guys just watched that powerful video. I know, right? Everybody's probably thinking, how can she be so happy? And she just had all these horrible things happen to her. What I said in the video is just an exact summation of my life story without getting too many details. You guys, if you remember me, Carl sent me on almost 10, I went through 10 different campuses on a college tour. We didn't do coffee chat, we did coffee talk. And just a little history about coffee talk. You know, Carl was listening to my story and he was able to help me to evaluate, you know, my human trafficking experience and just evaluate, you know, that didn't necessarily just come just from me. This was a generational thing. Human trafficking just doesn't start with an individual person. So this was a family generational issue with me. And we needed to come up with not just a family solution, but Carl and I, we worked on a student solution for you guys. Carl loves his students at ACC. He's ACC all day. So we wanted to make sure that we could do something that was, you know, student oriented, and there could be a solution for you guys, but as well as to let you guys know that your teachers, your administrators, your student life coordinators, they know what's happening in the world. And they're also aware that some things may be happening to certain students, and then there's no advocate or there's no way for, you know, to talk about it and things like that. So I really appreciate the student life coordinators for taking out the time to make sure that we get this information to you guys. So for y'all who think, okay, ACC don't care about me, okay, wait a minute. They got their lives together, and so that's why we're here, right? You guys are going to hear things. If you have an issue, let's start here. If you have an issue or if you have any questions, I did send my email in the chat if you want to talk to me about something private or personal. Everything you talk about is completely confidential. If we need to report something anonymously, you guys, if you don't know, update. I do work with Crime Stoppers as well. So, and I probably need to put that in there. You guys can always report anonymous tips of abuse, human trafficking, domestic violence, anything like that, to 713-222-TIPS. Make sure you report there. So that's definitely an avenue for you guys already. So I just want to start there with that resource so we don't have to get into that during this talk. And then if you have stories that are more private, like I said, please email me. But if you have questions, I'm here to answer all your questions. So let's just get right into it, right? What is human trafficking? Right, human trafficking. I taught this at, I believe at which campus? I think Central Campus. Human trafficking is the cell exploitation. Sometimes money doesn't have to be involved. It can be for power of anybody, male, a female, a mother, daddy, grandmother, it doesn't matter. Children, I deal mostly with children and adult women, teenage women going into adulthood, things like that, right? If you buyer, seller, slave, 3 components, easy peasy, buyer, seller, slave. So this component right here helped a lot of people in law enforcement understand that prostitution, although may be an element of a type of human trafficking, prostitution is not human trafficking. I will tell anybody this. When my body was sold, I was not in control. I didn't make no money. I didn't see no money. I had a pimp. I was told what to do, how to do it, where to do it at, and who I could do it to. That is just simple as that. Okay. In the lexicon, they teach terms like a Romeo pimp, right? Or they'll say, I know a gorilla pimp, they use those type of pimps, right? And they make it seem like those are the only 2 alive. That is not true. I also have a video training. It's about 20 minutes long, so I don't know how long we was going to do this training today. I would definitely send it to Carl. If he can play it, we'll play it. It was first displayed on the National Center of Sexual Exploitation. We had over 16,000 people registered to take that class because it was about human trafficking 101 and its effects on the African American community, right? Things that people are not paying attention to. It doesn't just affect one culture. So shout out to all the cultures that are on here. I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't care if you're Jew. I don't care if you're Asian. I don't care if you're Hispanic. I don't care if you're Chinese. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're green or blue. Human trafficking affects all cultures differently. Although I speak about human trafficking, I cannot speak for everybody's experience. People will experience different things. So I must say that because that is not acknowledged enough. So my experience with human trafficking may not be the same experience for somebody that's in the Asian community, somebody that's in the Hispanic community, Caucasian community, and vice versa, right? So let's talk about prostitution, right? Everybody, oh, we're doing this. And if you just saw that our county attorney dismissed 36 women who were victims, some victims of human trafficking, some just prostitutes. He dismissed their cases that the state had against them. And during that case, he called me for some advice on that case, right? Hip, hip, hooray. Who would have thunk it? We need an actual expert, an actual advocate for these women. And the details of the case I'm not allowed to talk about, but what the state was bringing against the women was preposterous, right? Because the problem with prostitution and the way people understand prostitution to be associated with human trafficking is we do not have victim services, right? And so most of the times what's happening now is because we don't have victim services, students who are also affected by prostitution via strip club prostitution, via forced prostitution through human trafficking, right? Not actual prostitution where you actually getting up there and you getting out there every day and you want to sell yourself for whatever reason. Totally against that. Do not do that. I do not encourage that with anybody. It's unsafe. It's harmful. It's very dangerous. Okay. It's not a good avenue to make any amount of money. And let me tell you something, at the end of the day, when you start getting 30 and 40 and 50, it's not worth your life to give your life, your valuable parts of your life to anybody for any amount of money at any given time under no circumstances. And so anytime anybody asks me, Nissi, what would you have done or things like that? Here's my thing. If you got the sin to get it, then it ain't from God. End of story, right? If you got the sin to do whatever it is, then it's not what you're supposed to be doing. So we want to back away from that. So prostitution requires 2 people. So if you remember, human trafficking requires 3, the buyer, the seller, the slave. 3 people, 3 components all the time. Not one time, not 2 times, all the time, 3 components. Prostitution requires 2 components, the buyer and the seller. That's it. This is why prostitution is not human trafficking, because this is consent in this agreement between two people. What makes it illegal is that they're doing it in a state that doesn't acknowledge prostitution as legal. So you cannot legally prostitute yourself in the state of Texas. But if you take the same contract between two individuals and you go to Nevada, it is A-okay, because in Nevada, prostitution is okay. It is completely legal. The problem Texas is having is they can't control it. There are not enough jobs. There are not enough victim services. Every other component that they have that would give you opportunity to have victim services, their components support victims. How do they support, Nissi? Strip clubs, hole in the walls. They used to have Backpage. Now they got I see a lot of students on what is it called? I hate looking at it so much. OnlyFans. Oh my God, I hate OnlyFans. I hate it. It's so disgusting. It's like, ugh. Originally, what OnlyFans was supposed to be, which was a way for people to have, contact with other famous people and artists, things that they're doing and selling and things like that, other than their body parts, turned into something, sexually explicit, and it sold and it went viral. Okay, sex sells everything. In this case, human trafficking, the purchase of a human being is high. I see we got a question. Miss Ann is raising her hand. Carl, we got a question.
If we do, we'll let them hold it till you finish.
Okay, Miss Ann, hold it till we finish, Miss Ann. I got you. You can also write it down in the chat and we'll get right to it. I'll have Carl get right to me with that, so we could just kind of breeze through the presentation.
All right.
And I saw somebody wrote my phrase, if you got a sin to get it, it's not from up above. Yes. So where was we at? Okay, OnlyFans. So I catch a lot of students on OnlyFans. Parents want to know, what's happening, what's going on, and things like that. And culturally speaking, how I teach my parents, the abuser is always prepared for objection, but the parents are not ready for confrontation. So if that makes sense to you, your abuser, somebody that's getting ready to abuse you, is always ready for objection. But by the time you figure out something's happening to your child, or by the time you figure out something illegally is happening to you, you're not ready for that confrontation, which is horrible, because people are scavenging to figure out how to actually deal with it, how to actually confront human trafficking practices, which is illegal. So let's talk about that. Human trafficking. What's happening in Houston? All right. Every day, 7,300 men are looking to have sex with children online. Every single day. Since COVID, sexual exploitation online has gone up 93%. 93%. Somebody unmuted themselves. Miss Ann, can you mute yourself again?
Sure.
Okay. I got you. We're going to answer your question. I got you. Hold on. Excuse me, guys. I'm trying to scratch my back and everything else. Anyway. So sexual exploitation for children has gone up 93%. So that means 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will have been sexually exploited by the time or before the time they reach age 18. We have currently 43,000 missing people in the state of Texas, and majority of them are minors. I actually did a study on our advertisements. Advertisements, unfortunately, do not respond to human trafficking culturally, right? It doesn't speak across the board. So when we see the messaging looks like it's only speaking about your average Caucasian, white girl. But here's the problem with that. Because it only speaks to one culture, we don't see it in, it's not cross communicating with every other culture about this being something that is, a social divisive issue in all cultures. So people are responding to human trafficking differently. So per my research, this is what I have found, especially in the African American community. What has happened is 90% of men who are sexual abusers or sexual predators will not be charged or convicted for any sexual lewd act, including human trafficking. Here's why. In the African American household, economically is structured different, mentally is structured different. How from the way we raise our children, from the way we handle money, from the way we do everything, especially if we have more than one child growing up in the household, things like that. If you come from a single parent household versus a 2-parent household. And so certain things that happened to us during slavery, how I explain it, some of those practices and principles have transitioned into the 21st century, into this era, because nobody corrected those practices and principles as time moved on. So sometimes people get stuck in an era and they think that because those principles might have worked in that era, they did not transition into this new era where they would still work. So what's happening is, for lack of better words, when things are happening to African American people or African American children, and this can be for anybody, but predominantly, this is my research per my story. We call it sweeping things underneath the rug. If something wasn't managed a certain kind of way back when mama and them was growing up, and then it transitions into the next life of that child, then the same thing happens over again. And so what we have learned in school age children today, because things didn't get handled correctly in school age children, when they experience abuse in the 21st century, we call it, I call it peer-to-peer abuse, where when that child, because a sexual engine has been opened up to them, they have been aroused, so their world is open, it's totally different now. They will project on another student or another child what has happened to them, because they never got any help, or they never got there were no advocates for them. Nobody ever saw that somebody hurt them or molested them, or that anything happened to them sexually. And so this became a huge, huge problem. Since then, the conviction rates, when you find out your child or yourself have been trafficked, or somebody's done something to you, if they've gotten away with it, they're going to do more things. They're going to graduate because they got away with it on this level. They're going to get away with it on another level. That's how they think. That's just them. When you do not testify, what happens is, because the state cannot use your testimony to convict the trafficker or to convict the person that has assaulted you in any type of way, then they're allowed to take a plea deal or have a plea bargain. And so what you'll see is, you may see somebody that might have got charged with human trafficking, but if there's no testimony, then those plea deals turn into sexual assault of a minor, where it seems like they only had an incident with one child when they might have had an incident with many children. But when the parents don't allow the kids to testify, or when you don't go to testify because it is a very overwhelming experience, then they get plea deals, and what they should have been charged with, they don't. You have 7 years from the time that whatever that charge, whatever that conviction was, if they have 7 years, once you didn't testify, after that 7 years, you're not allowed to know what happened to them, what's going on. If they register as a sex offender, if you're not allowed to know ever, they can sweep that right underneath the rug. And so what's happening is the victims are not being paid attention to. People in our judicial system care more about the rights of the perpetrator or the abuser more than they care about the rights of the victim. And so voices are being left unheard and charges are being left on the table where these people can be put away for a very long time so that they don't hurt somebody else. So there's a cataclysmic effect going on because people are afraid to come forward, or people are afraid to testify, or people feel it better to respond socially to human trafficking by not testifying so that they don't re-victimize the victim, but actually it's hurting the system. And so they're looking for ways to, just like they do in domestic violence cases, if you call the police and there's, you report abuse, the police will come anyways. In human trafficking cases is not the same. They will come because there's a sexual assault, but typically when you're dealing with a sexual assault or the reported sexual assault, there's a detective that calls and then they trade testimonies. With domestic violence, they come right away. It's an immediate response. And so that I found very alarming and just heart-wrenching how sexual assault cases are handled very differently than domestic violence. And so, and even though sexual assault is not human trafficking, it usually is one victim reports and it's 15 other people connected to the victim that one victim know about. They just don't know because they haven't asked the right questions yet. And so we are just misinformed. Another misnomer. I was very teed off when the media circulated that trafficking starts with white vans and locks and all this stuff, hide your kids if you see a white van. And, here's the thing, you may come across somebody who just drives a van or whatever, or somebody has a security system that they're going to put in somebody's house and they don't want to know the brand of the security system. I mean, it could be a myriad of things. Somebody could be a plumber, the reason why they have a white van, and they just, they might have a plumbing business, but they might not have the money to actually get the truck wrapped yet. Who knows why, somebody has a white van. That doesn't mean that you're going to be sex trafficked. So there's a difference between sex trafficking and an abduction offender. If you are abducted off the streets, then that's just abduction. You are not considered trafficked until the actual solicitation or exploitation of your body to other people have happened. So I get a lot of questions about that, and parents just want to know. So if somebody takes my child off the street, then it's just abduction. It's not human trafficking. It's not. Abduction is associated with human trafficking because through testimonies of survivors of human trafficking, their trafficker got to them because they were abducted. And then sexual exploitation happened. So two totally different ways of how police and our penal code addresses human trafficking versus abduction. Okay, so that's something that people don't really understand or know about. Most traffickers that are going to go after children, we call this is skilled age communication. Not only do they go after children, you guys are y'all have completely moved to an online platform. So everything about the trafficker, which is a social media pimp, okay, is very different. Social media pimps are very, very tech savvy. Oh my God, they are so tech savvy. Jesus, they will be talking to 15 different people across 15 different platforms, and they won't even blink twice. They'll be on a date with you talking to 15 different people at the same time, and you wouldn't even think nothing about it. My teachers, when I'm talking to my teachers, most of the time, I tell them, the quickest way to spot somebody that's going to be a pimp or have pimp-like behavior. And you guys qualify for this conversation because you in college, you 18 or older, you talking to somebody and they themselves or their parents, because student financial aid is different. Some students have to have financial aid. You need your parents' tax returns. If they're an independent student, they will need their own tax returns to get financial aid, right? You're dealing with somebody who ain't never filed taxes before. That is a warning sign that you are probably dealing with somebody who's doing illegal activity to get their money. And so the question is, what are they doing? How are you making money? What are you doing to make money? I know 10, 15 years back, not even 20 years back, we had Kappa. And I'm 33. We grew up with Kappa. It was like, I remember being in middle school, like, I can't wait to get to Kappa because everybody was talking about it. This is in the 90s. It was booming. It was fun. It was hip. It was, Kappa Beach Party. That's right. Carl, no, everybody wants to get to Kappa Beach Party. But I bet you 9 times out of 10, a lot of those guys that participated in the sexual nuisance activities, everything that Kappa focused on, that they were a part of a sexual engine that was driving human trafficking. And if you were in college and you were part of a frat, or you were a part of, and it wasn't just them, I'm talking about the stuff that make people get the big head. You have to just be a part of frat. You could be the person that drove the nice car and stuff, and you had all the women. You could be the football player, things like that. You could just be somebody that everybody wanted to be around or to be with, or things like that. Typically, you had more than one girl kind of thing, going on. And, you didn't mind these type of practices and principles, right? I just want you to think about this for a second. If that was the practice and the principle that gave you all your limelight when you was, 18, 19, 20, 21, and you just don't happen to lose your job, you out on luck, life ain't going for you, what you gonna go back to? Those practices and principles that made you happy. But this time, you're going to take them same practices and principles that you use where you were facilitating, small relationships with a bunch of different people. You're going to do the same thing, but you're going to monetize it. And so that's why sex trafficking is, so big. And kids, even at the college level, are a part of it. Oh, I need to pay for my books and stuff. Well, yeah, you work at the, come work with me. You don't know you working at a club, you come work with me for a couple of days, I got you. 3 days go by, and you at a club, you thinking you doing one thing, or you anywhere. It could be anywhere. It don't have to be a club, because labor trafficking is just as important as human trafficking is. And in college, and especially, I've heard some very, very horrible stories with the international students, the stuff that they have to go through, and the stuff that are the things that are presented to them to make money is horrible. But they want to keep their visas, they want to stay here, and they want to complete their education. So these offers are being made all the time. There's always somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and this is how they're being connected in, and they have no idea. So abusers seek career or volunteer opportunities related to whatever it is that you're doing. And so, back to what I was trying to tell you guys, you know, you didn't make it in life, but that was your secret sauce to make it in college. Well, now your new secret sauce is let me transition those same habits and transition them into my real life, and let me, like I said, monetize and make money using people, panhandling people. And I'm talking to you guys like this to break it down, to kind of to summarize with you guys what that looks like. So going into what that trafficking process, that grooming process look like. If I know, let's talk about something y'all probably understand. If I know if I have a gun, I can't break that gun down and sell it 12 different ways. If I sell that gun, that transaction is only one time. If I'm selling weed, which none of y'all should be doing, or smoking it or doing it either. Don't put that stuff in your body. You don't know what's in it. If I'm doing that, I can only break it down so many times before it stop being, you know, $10, or before it stop being $5. You know, I'm gonna trade it. I could chop it up and trade it so many. But even though I'm chopping it up and trading it and doing all that kind of stuff, eventually it's gonna run out. I'm gonna have to get some more from my supplier. But when it comes down to a human body, I don't have to necessarily go get more. I can use one and just trade it as many times a day as I want to and make way more profit. And then if I just so happen to look up on getting another one, then I could trade that person so many times a day and make a profit. And I ain't never got to worry about it running out. And that is the mentality and the mindset of traffickers. So let's just talk about, you know, you guys, most of the times people are victimized, they're victimized in their core world. So I'm gonna tell you something as college students. You guys have to be careful who you tell your deepest, darkest secrets to, because secrets have transition. You know, telling a secret used to be fun. It used to be, you know, I'm gonna wait till third period. I can't wait to tell my girlfriend, girl, let me tell you about what went down. You know, girl, did you go to the party? You know, that stuff used to be fun, but secrets have transitioned totally. You know, telling somebody a secret could mean life or death just because you know about it. Or somebody could want you to know just so in case something happens to them, you knew about it. And now all of a sudden you're accessory to a crime because you knew about something and you didn't report it. I'm seeing that dealing with students as well, calling in. And this is why Crime Stoppers, you know, work with Crime Stoppers is very beneficial in the relationship that I have with them for you guys, so that you can have that space where you can just dominate, you know, report that stuff, report it to protect yourself. So let's just go over some stuff when selecting somebody. Traffickers want to select somebody who is unconnected or like on the fringe, somebody that's always in the need. Now, this world is needs-based. Everything is needs-based. Everybody's going to have a need. Everybody's going to have a desire for something, right? But the difference between a trafficker and the regular world, guess what it is? Nothing. Traffickers in the regular world want the same thing. You know what it is? It's simple. Me and Carl were just talking about the other day. Financial independence. Everybody wants financial independence. The reason why trafficking and the traffickers' financial independence is wrong is because the way they're going about achieving independence financially. You're not allowed. It is illegal to sell anybody's body to achieve financial independence. But let them tell it, you know, they do it. She was already there when I met her. Recent case in the news was a 16-year-old girl met a guy on a chat thing. He actually owned a strip club or whatever. And he says, yo, you know, you come out here and make your money. I got you. You gonna be good. Da, 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 da. And he owns a business. Invites her from a chat room to come work at his business. And then as the police investigation is going on, he says, I did not know She was 16. Well, here's the liability, and the criminal negligence and criminal liability comes in that. If you own a business, then your business should be in the practice of hiring people. You're telling me you allow somebody to work in your establishment for money, and you have no way of reporting her income via W-9, 1099, or other works? And so everything he said, though it was valid, it was unlawful, which when he goes to court, if mom doesn't, if she doesn't allow her daughter to testify and ain't no telling what has happened, then he's going to take a plea deal. And guess what? It is not illegal for you to run a sexually oriented business. He's going to keep doing it. And it's going to keep happening and keep happening. And so people are not paying attention. Let's make sure we stay connected. You guys, let's make sure we monitor what we say, how we say it, who we telling our secrets to, who we allowing to be our friends. You know, because your homegirl, I'm going to tell you what is happening in this world. Two girls already I had to send them through outpatient therapy. Their homegirls was being trafficked. They went and told the homegirls the story. Not they telling their homegirl, hey, you know, I'm getting into it with my mom and da 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 da. And they say, well, hey, you can hang out with me, you know, da 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 da. And they end up introducing them to their abuser, and they tell the abuser, well, you can just come be friends with me over here, or you could come do this with me over here. And so they end up running away together to go be with the guy, and then end up in Louisiana. How many of y'all have heard that story on the news? This is what's happening. So peer-to-peer abuse is very important, and a lot of times everybody's getting caught up just from telling somebody what they think is a secret. Somebody else is taught to turn what your personal issue, your personal obstacle, into a monetary situation from them. And then just real quick, because I see Carl on here, so I know my time is probably up. People that's looking for somebody to follow, people who come from broken families and single parent households, they're very, very vulnerable. The conversation is going to be vulnerable. The experiences in life are going to be vulnerable. Everything's going to be vulnerable. So we just want to watch it. Not saying you're a bad person. You just want to watch it, right? And people that are already involved in drugs and alcohol, and then people that are already involved in pornography. And just last point, Carl, if you'll let me make it, I just want to say this for girls that are on here. When guys are watching pornography, they're living in a bubble. I call it suspended animation. That bubble that they live in while they're watching it, they're watching choking, pulling of the hair, whatever it is, whatever that experience is that they have in their mind is of a violent nature. By the time they get in a relationship with you or anything else, that experience with you is going to translate from off the screen into real life, into a violent situation. So per my research, I have seen domestic violence in you guys' age group go up through the roof just because the amount of pornography guys are watching. And today, as a result of pornography being closely associated with domestic violence as well as human trafficking, we have seen an increased rate in guys experiencing what is it called? What is it called when you can't use your function down there?
Impotent.
Yeah, when you impotent. When you impotent down there, or ED, erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
Erectile dysfunction is happening in guys a lot earlier, starting at 25. And that's because of the increase in pornography.
Interesting. I wanted to say, Dr. Hamilton, I know that, and before we get a few of their questions asked, I wanted to say that there are also a lot of out there that I've even talked to a few students about, like, sometimes it's shocking to even hear the word human trafficking as it relates to the United States or something of that
Hmm.
nature, because, but some of the myths are human trafficking doesn't in third world countries, because when people think of it, they think of what they see on movies. Also, they think that human trafficking is bringing people in a truck across the water. I mean, not a truck, but one of those containers on ships or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, they think this is really how it is. And if you can, um, just kind of dispel the myth, that it just happens like that, and how important it is in our city, to be able to combat it because of Houston being one of the top cities that human trafficking exists.
absolutely. And that's what we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's your abduction offender.
Hmm.
So that was one case I had to evaluate. I forget all the details, but there was a Hispanic guy. He brought a bunch of people over in the container like situation and stuff. And when they got ready to charge him, only three people actually reported like sexual abuse and things like that. But the rest of them had, they were just uh deported. They were trying to uh have a better life to a better life, and he turned it into something else. That guy didn't get charged with labor trafficking, nor did he get charged with human trafficking, which he should have. Three people report there's sexual things going on. Is not is not the sexual nature of it, is what's happening. Based on your testimony and the content of your testimony, people will evaluate if they got a labor trafficking and a human trafficking situation. If that woman said, yeah, I had sex with him or whatever, and I had sex with the other guy, but I did it because I wanted freedom, is that human trafficking? Yeah. I'm going to take you across the border. Number one, that's illegal. But you got to sleep with me and my friend. What did I tell you human trafficking was? The buyer, the seller, the slave. Did we have that? Did we have a slave? Yeah. Did we have a buyer? Yeah. Did we have a seller? Yeah. Once he initiated sexual contact with her, the first one, why his friend got to know about it? Why his friend got to be with her too? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how easy this is? So in college, it's happening like that too. They just got a different story about it. I'm going to say, man, I'm going to hook up with her. I'm going to sleep with her. And then you hook up with her too. Boom. You just involved yourself in something you ain't got no business involving yourself in. But by the time the girl tells her story, is mental, is another type of abuse, and the content of her story, which is very relatable to human trafficking. She doesn't even know that the guy she was sleeping with, who nobody should have known, was basically trading her off to other people, because that's exactly what trafficking is. And watch this: when you're in college, you don't think to do this for money, not right away. But just think, yo, bro, you can sleep with her and I'm going to set it up for you. $45. All right, got you. Boom. Just like that. But in the instance with that guy, brought them people over here in a container, an abduction offender, they have to get the testimony. If the testimony doesn't match the charge, then they can't do it. It's non-existent. It don't exist. Ain't that messed up? That's crazy. They might have everything that constitute labor trafficking and human trafficking, but if the testimonies, if these people are not testifying to that charge or with the constitution of that charge, then that person gets off.
Mm. Very interesting. Very interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, before we give her a round of applause, do we have any questions out there? I know one thing, if you can, Nissi, put in your contact info. I know and Gina Edwards definitely wanted to make sure you provided your contact info inside of the chat for them so that they can make sure that they screenshot it or take it down or whatever. And if any of you have any questions at this particular quick, and we'll let you get your questions answered. And I think that would be really cool. Okay, so yeah, so our email address, guys, nissi.hamilton@yahoo.com. Our contact number is 713-548-3403. So you definitely want to make sure if you have anything private that you want to make sure you get a chance to talk to her with, you can definitely take that number down or
Y'all got any questions?
yes,
I mean, it's only 13 of us on here. So now is the time.
But you know
I'll tell you guys this. We're working on a piece of legislation. It doesn't have a number to the bill yet, but one of the things that happened to me while I was a victim of trafficking is that I always had to have my hair, nails, makeup done. Like I had to be GQ, right, all the time because I was sold, right? And so one of the things that the state did was they made a requirement for beauticians and barbers to actually post, you know, hey, if you see trafficking or if you spot trafficking, to report. They're supposed to post that in all the beauty shops, but you know, some have them, some do not. Have y'all seen that? Have y'all witnessed that? Where some have it and some do not. Okay, so that's an issue for me. But what's okay, Roxanne has seen them, good. But if you go somewhere else, in the restroom, yes, and you go somewhere else, maybe somebody who owns a private you know, barber and beautician, they might not necessarily have it posted. So what we're working on is to make sure that barbers, beauticians, and makeup artists have human trafficking training, because most of the times, especially African-American culture, your barber or your beautician, that's your therapist. Your makeup artist, I mean, you really can't talk, but you know, if you're seeing somebody all the time and you got to cover up a black eye, you got to cover up stuff all the time, you know, you kind of know what's going on. You know, that's just to kind of break this, you know, kind of bring it together so you guys can understand how easy it is for people to miss it, see it every day and miss it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the good thing, Nissi, is even if people don't have questions, you know, some may be a little bit more private. They definitely may reach out to you, and or it's also a good thing because it means you touched on some hot stuff. So you know, we look at it two ways. So, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. Definitely want to take up too much more of y'all's time because I know you guys have other things you need to get to as well.
Wait a minute, Carl. Where's Ann at? I remember Ann had a question. Is she still on?
Let's see. I didn't know if she took a hand down. I know that the hand wasn't raised anymore.
Miss Ann?
Oh, I'm okay. I put my hand up by mistake. I'm sorry, but I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, good.
All right, cool. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and let everybody kind of jump off. In the meantime, definitely get a chance to be able to follow Nissi. You know, Nissi, what was your Instagram or whatever?
Oh, I never even put it on here. Is the real? I didn't think about it. I was so busy trying to get this information to you guys.
Okay, and then Miss Renee Mack. Hey, Miss Mack. I know she said the international students need to.
Yes. And thanks to Carl. Thanks to Carl. I'm telling you, he is really just studied me and just studied to have. We didn't go into details about a bunch of stuff because we've learned, Carl and I, from doing this for a year, that people like to tell more of their personal stories when they hear stuff. So we try not to talk about too much stuff that trigger things, but we know some of the stuff I said still triggers people because they've had these experiences. But international students, for sure, there needs to be a human trafficking protocol in every university. And I congratulate HCC for being one of the first international college institutions to jump on this right away before it became an issue within the student population and student life. So Carl, really appreciate you for being such a father for the students.
Ashley and Regina, they huge supporters too. I want to make sure.
Yeah, they are. Dominique, Ashley. Oh, Miss Regina. They have supported. Yes, they are all the student life staff coordinators have
Right.
all supported the initiative period to make sure international students.
Dr. Nissi,
Huh?
we may need to connect you with our actual vice chancellor who is over international students, because this topic came up really in the summertime, and when they were talking about it, I said, oh, we had Dr. Nissi out last year to discuss human trafficking, and she was like, yes, that is wonderful. But we may need to have you back to discuss with our international student population. So you're not going nowhere. We're about to pass you on to the next as this great resource. So we definitely thank you. So just know when you get that back call again, it will be us asking you to talk to maybe a broader group of students, and definitely on that international student level, because they definitely need to hear this as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you guys. And hey, students that are listening, I know some of the stuff I said might sound cheesy. You know, I'm gonna tell you, y'all student life coordinators have worked very hard with me to make sure we give a version of these instances that are student appropriate. Okay. I just want to say that I know, and they know, that there are other triangulations, or what's that girl said? Who was the one that was Will Smith's wife?
Oh yeah.
What she said, it was
entanglements.
There are other entanglements of human trafficking amongst the student population. So we are aware.
But the good thing is that they can tell that, you know, you're not just somebody up here just talking about it. So we appreciate you so much, Dr. Hamilton, man, and students continue to be able to support, you know, other staff and faculty members that are on here, continue to support. We will make sure we continue to bring some other stuff. And as Ashley said, Dr. Hamilton, we will reach out on the international side and definitely give an opportunity for them to be able to hear what you have to say as well. Outside of that, guys, we don't want to hold you all. We appreciate y'all taking time. Continue to be able to follow at the Student Life, the ACC Student Life, on Facebook and Instagram, you know, as we continue to be able to bring, you know, a lot of different events for you all to be able to attend and get a lot of information and have a great time as well. Outside of that, other student life coordinators, do you all have anything to say?
Just want to let you know, I dropped our presence link in the chat. Just remember, if you're looking to come to any of our events, all these guest speakers, these wonderful topics we're going to be discussing, please visit our presence site, Eagle Experience, so you'll be up to date on what we got going on next. So thank you guys so much.
Yes. All right.
Oh, hey, Sue said he joined Taxes 101 tomorrow. I know that's right. You better understand them taxes early, Jesus. Jesus said he ain't gonna be no trafficker. I want to know right now. I love it.
All right, y'all. We'll see you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.